Welcome to Maverick Musings. I am so excited to be here tonight. Maverick Musings, where every single quarter we highlight a special person, a person who I have identified to be a maverick in their own right for the work that they do professionally or personally, or even within the community, and just outright who they are. This episode is brought to you by Advent Development Group, a personal and professional development firm helping you to level up in your career and personal life. I am Coach Cherry, and I am so excited to welcome our guest today. She is a friend and a gem, so I'm excited to have her on. Today, we have Latricia Singleton-Clark. She is a mom, a wife, a daughter, sister, and a friend, as I just told you. And she is Hazelwood School District Teacher of the Year. Ooh, ooh, ooh. She also is a doctoral candidate, getting her PhD in educational leadership. Oh my goodness, she just got all kind of things going on, y'all. She has been in the education field for about 11 years. And again, she's one teacher of the year for her school. She then went on to win it at the district level, and now she has an opportunity to compete at the statewide level, right? So give a round of applause and help me to welcome my dear friend, Latricia. Hey, Trish, turn your camera on. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey.
How are we
Thank you
doing
for the beautiful
today?
introduction. We are doing just fine. A little tired, been a long day, but I'm happy to be here and I thank you for the opportunity and even thinking of me to do something like this. So I'm grateful.
Absolutely. You absolutely deserve it.
Mhm.
So we're gonna kick things off, and we're gonna do just a little something light, right, to kind of dive into it. So let me ask you, what places on your bucket list to visit?
Girl, I talk about all the time with kids. I'm drawing a blank. Um, I have not been outside of the country, so anywhere outside of the country is on my. But Italy is
Oh,
on my bucket list. I would
so
like
are
to
you gonna
see.
take the kids, or you gonna go by yourself
Absolutely
with
not.
just the hubs?
Absolutely by myself. Maybe with the. I'm just kidding. Me and the hubs. Me and the hubs.
I ain't
It's a
trying to get you in no
romantic place.
trouble.
It's a romantic place. So why not take the hubs and just enjoy and take it all in? Absolutely.
I
That's a.
love that.
Hmm.
I have Bali on my list. Like, I really, really want to go to
Hmm.
Bali in the near future without Noah.
Absolutely.
Like, I just want
Absolutely.
to go and get recentered.
Yeah. I understand.
Awesome. So today, y'all, we are going to be talking about resiliency, amplifying the impact of educators. So the reason I selected this topic, and this could just be my opinion, right? But the reason I selected this topic is because I feel like our educators, one, they have it so tough. And then two, they don't get the recognition that they really, really deserve, in my opinion. And I know that it's some folks out there that can relate and can that agree with me a little bit on that. And so that's why I picked this topic, and that's why we're going to kind of dive in. And who better to do it with than Latricia? So Latricia, first question, can you
Yes.
share a little bit about your journey into education? Like, what even led you down that path?
So in high school, um, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. Just throughout my educational journey, elementary, middle, high school, the teachers, they always knew what to say. They knew how to make a difference in the lives of kids. And they actually, I would say, they helped me to reach my potential. They helped me to know that I was smart, that I was talented, that I could go on to the college level. And I needed those affirmations, coming from East St. Louis. Um, the opportunities are far and few in between, but to have those teachers that could put and instill those values in you, to let you know that you are smart and that you can make it, it was important for me to want to make that same impact on the lives of kids. So that's how I decided, that that was the path that I wanted to take.
And that's so good because we were just talking about so before we went live, everybody, Latricia and I were talking about just the fact that our children are with educators, with someone, whether they are at school, at aftercare, or playing a sport, they're with their teacher a huge portion of their day that they are awake, right? And by the time they get home to us as parents, you have very limited time. And that time is usually spent doing homework, making sure they're fed, getting them ready for the next day, right? And then they're in the bed. All of that time that teachers are pouring into our children, and teaching them and equipping them with the tools, the necessary tools that they're going to need, it's just absolutely invaluable, in my opinion. So, in that same space, Trish, what would you say, just on a lighter note, like what would you say is the most rewarding part about you being a teacher?
Just the same thing, just making an impact on the kids, building those relationships, having those connections. um I know if I have to miss a day or have to do something, those kids, they really, they appreciate you and they like your presence, they like your consistency. So to come back the next day and they're like, where have you been, why weren't you here yesterday? It lets me know that they know that I care, and then they care about me as well, because they like to see me and they want me there. So that's very rewarding, to know that I have that kind of influence on my students.
Yeah, I think it takes a special called person to be a teacher, to be in the education profession. Cause it
Absolutely.
ain't in my ministry, okay?
I
Like it's
understand.
not. I'd be so excited to drop my kid off, like, skirt, get out,
Yeah, but
buddy.
it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. I know my first year, two, three, probably was a totally different teacher. But then I had to understand the demographic of students that I work with, and what worked for us when we were kids doesn't work for them. So it's essential that you build those relationships, and that you meet them, where they are, and you have to let your guard down so they can trust you, and you can have, it's enjoyable if you can have that interaction with kids that's pleasant, because it's not always easy. So um, I forgot where I was going with it, but
No, that's good because that makes me, I mean, that flows right into what I was thinking about
mhm,
because so we have gone through COVID, right? And COVID was hard on everybody, right? So I completely get it. But for me, I have a special place when it comes to teachers and the way that you all had to pivot and really restructure and even maybe change your teaching styles because the way you were teaching wasn't the same way as it is when you are in the classroom in front of that student and you're now having to consistently across the board do it virtually, right? And even some of those students may not have had the additional support that they needed at home in order to be successful. And so you've seen this mass exit of teachers kind of leaving the profession, right? And
mhm.
so you can tell that you certainly have a passion for children. You certainly have a passion for what you do. Obviously, you love it, and obviously, your students love you back, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Which is absolutely amazing. What can you share about teachers leaving the profession? What could be done to make sure that we are having quality educators that want to be in the seat, that want to teach our children? What can we do in that space?
um as far as teachers actually leaving the profession, um I do think that more training is needed, because when you are in college and you're learning all of these pedagogy and all of these different things about what it takes to be and do and how to teach kids, when you enter the classroom, there's so much that you still don't know. So um, you don't know that you have to deal with mental health issues, or the this kid that didn't eat yesterday, or they're bringing their outside inside. So there's so much more that needs to be done so that teachers can understand what they are dealing with when they sign up to become teachers, because it's not the okay kids, today we're going to learn about this, and then you teach, and they just take it all in. You have to do so much more. And then you have to understand that you have to be the mother, the doctor, the counselor, the all of these different things. So it can be overwhelming for teachers when you thought, well, I just thought I was here to, teach biology, or I thought I was here just to teach culinary, and you end up having to do so much more that can take that time away. And it can be stressful. Teachers take that stuff home with them. When students are impacted in different ways, sometimes you can't shake it when you get home, and teachers
Mhm.
get so over, and the pay, we said that they
Yeah.
don't make enough for the things that we deal with and all the roles that we take. So they need adequate training. They need to know what they are dealing with when they walk into the doors, especially in those low income and minority communities. Those kids need so much more um, than just um, this is the learning objective, take out your pencils and paper and do this. It's so much more. So the number one thing is to properly train teachers, and then let them know what they're dealing with, so they can be able to deal with it in a more effective way. So,
Yeah, that's good. So I'm gonna assume that when you start as a teacher. So if I was to try to get into, I want to be a teacher all of a sudden now, right? I got a
mhm,
degree. I'm
mhm,
gonna go back and get a teacher certification, and I want to
mhm.
become a teacher. Is it more of just kind of like a basic level setting type training, but it wouldn't necessarily fully prepare me for some of those things that you just mentioned that I may face in the classroom?
um, you're going to get the XYZ. They want you to know the content, different ways to deliver it, but once you actually enter the classroom, you may not even get to that. And normally you won't get to that the first couple of weeks, because you have to really learn your students. You can't teach kids if you don't know them. You have to build relationships. So we spend a little time with that. And even having a mentor, I've mentored a couple of new teachers, to steer them along the right path. This is what to do, help provide resources. So it's just so much more than just having a degree or saying you're so certified, because all certified teachers are not good teachers.
Yeah.
I just want to say that. But yeah, so um, yeah.
It's so much there in what you said. One of the things I want to go back and then kind of come back to some things that you touched on about what children may be facing at home that they're bringing in the classroom and all of that. But one of the things that you initially said was that in year 1, 2, or 3, for you, even when you were a different teacher, what do you think were the things that you did that kind of got you to where you are today? Like what are some of the things that maybe you changed when you look back on where you were year 1 versus where you are today?
So initially, year one was a actually just still learning. So once you get the degree, you get in the classroom, you're still learning. And like I had a mentor as well that gave advice, and but it actually takes being on the battlefield. You have to be there to understand. And so when I first started, I wasn't that I'm gonna build relationships. It's okay, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna do this is what you're gonna do, and I don't want to, it's no negotiation, do this or else you get, and so I was that type of teacher. But then I had to learn that these kids do not respond to that. And so over time and getting to know, because I've been with my current district for 10 years, and getting to know the demographic, and actually having to differentiate or learn the different kids, and um and just not be their friends, but be more welcoming to students and be more pleasant and approachable, because they need that. That they don't have structure. A lot of them don't have structure at home. So it's hard for them to have structure when they're at school. So you have to find different ways um, to reach them. So it was just trial and error, and over time, wanting to go beyond what I did in the classroom,
Mm.
and then create a girls' night out and bring in keynote speakers to talk to the girls about life and things like that. Just assessing their needs and being able to provide what I could within reason to help meet the needs of the students that I deal with.
Oh, so much, so much, so much there. Like we could literally talk for 2 hours or more. Like,
Literally.
I mean, we could go when we first talked, when I asked you to do this, we were on the phone for like an hour just kind of talking, like things
Time
just
just
kept
flew
coming up
by. Yeah. Yeah.
and kept coming up. I'm just so intrigued. I'm just so I'm very proud of you, and I'm so excited about the work that you are doing and the commitment that you've given, right, to many children that have passed through your classroom, and the impact that you're making in the community is absolutely, again, I just have a special place for teachers. So with
Mhm.
that being said, what can parents do to further support teachers? Because I know, and this is to all the viewers, okay? Like, if you're a parent, you know you be clowning sometimes, because I know I do, right? Like, where you don't necessarily give the grace that you probably should be giving to the person that has your child 8 out of the 12 hours that they awake, or whatever it is, right? Like,
Mhm.
the teachers and the educators, the school, they have your child all day long, and they are such an influence to them. What would you like to see from parents, or what can parents do to further support teachers in their in their journey?
So parents have they have to be supportive. When so if kids are we make parent contacts. So we've been taught to make positive contacts and negative. So for every negative, make two positive, you know. And so a lot of times parents don't answer the phone or they don't return emails because they think it's always something negative, but they need to be present. Parent teacher conferences, I may talk to three parents within a 4 hour time span. Um, if we have football games or I coach track meets, just show up and let your kids know that they're there for them. But you also have to be a role model for your kids. Help them. If you can't help them with their homework, try to find resources that are available. You just can't be blind and out of tune. Stay on top of your kids when they come home. Every day my kids come home, how was school? Oh, it was good. That's not acceptable. I need detail. Like, get involved, know what's going on with them. You can learn so much or miss so much by not communicating with your students, and then be an advocate for them. If they say something's not right, we want you to contact us. We want to have those conversations, but everything doesn't have to be in a aggressive manner or aggressive tone. Talk to your kids teachers because they're human. And we make mistakes, but sometimes you helping us understand what your kid is like and what things we can do to help them, it makes a big difference. And then also accepting, because like you said, we're with your kids uh, for 7 8 hours out of the day. If I say Johnny did something, Johnny probably did it. So don't be in denial about, if something needs to be done or if they need some help, then you need to receive it. A lot of parents don't believe that their kids do certain things, but when we call you, just be present, be more active, be receptive to what we're saying, and then let's work as a team, to because at the end of the day, we are there for the kids. You want your kids to get the best education. We want them to give them the best education. So what better way than to collaborate, so we can decide what that is.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this then. So you talked a little bit about um year who you were year one as a teacher, who you are today, and how when you initially started, it was kind of like, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what I'm doing, right? And you had to kind of find your way, right?
Hmm.
From a parent, so for the parents that maybe aren't as supportive, if I were to play devil's advocate and say, well, you only know what you know, right? So
Hmm.
oftentimes, particularly in underrepresented, let's just keep it 1000, right? Like in the hood, in our
Okay.
Black communities, right? Like oftentimes we're seeing a cycle that's transpiring, right? And so, not to say that as an adult, people shouldn't know what to do, because they probably should. But if they've never truly had the experience of communicating effectively in that way, or truly knowing what to do to support their child, because maybe they've never seen that level of support, how do you deal with that? Like, how do you, like, what can we do to help overcome some of that?
That is some of the greatest issue with education and parents. So I know at my school we've done things to try to bring parents in, not necessarily just for parent teacher conference. Like I know last week I helped plan painting with a parent. So the kids got to come in and they got to bring a parent in, and then they, it's doing something together, that bonding beyond just the classroom. So doing things like that, getting the community more involved. I know during maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas, we do things like um, provide meals and things like that. So um, just things like that, being receptive and utilizing the resources that are available. I know maybe there may be some things that happened in the household when I grew up, and I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna. My kids won't experience that. So just um, they got to know it's a problem first, because a lot of times you don't know, and if you pass things down, to like bad habits down to kids, you just don't know, and that's it's really no fault of their own, but just being receptive and getting the knowledge and the education to know that you don't have to be what the past generations are, and seeking out assistance or help when you need it. It's okay, because we don't want to continue that cycle, especially in the hood communities. It's cyclical. We were talking about the kids that go off to college and that are back home after the first semester. They don't know what to do. They're lost. So just actually, and stop blaming schools for everything,
Mm,
because yeah, you play a part in that. You absolutely play a part in your child's education, and you play a part in getting them ready for the next level. So if we can get them into the school, you still have to do your part. So they have to do their part.
woo-hoo, girl. I'm over here like, hmm, let's
I'm
go
no
get a little
expert. It's
tambourine.
just my personal opinion. So I'm not an expert, but just from my experience, these are my opinions about what can be done from a parental perspective. I've had the parent that wants to come in and shout and overtalk you, and not actually listen. Some, it's in. I've had the ones that are caring. I've had parents email me and say thank you for what you do for my kids. Thank you what you do for what you do for my athletes. It's far in between, but it does happen, and those things help teachers know that we're doing what we're supposed to do. So not only do you can make positive contacts and just get more involved. If I get an email from my, because I have kids, from their teachers, I'm calling, I'm emailing, we're going back and forth about, well, what happened and what, because I may be speaking from an educator lens, but what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or what can we do? So it's a team effort. Stop blaming teachers. It starts at home. And if you don't have the adequate knowledge or resources, then seek them out. Seek them out. It's a lot of mental health, the stigma behind it. Something's wrong with you if you get help. Like, we have to break all of that generational those curses and get the help we need if we want to heal as a community.
Ooh, girl,
Mm.
go ahead, do that little segue right into this next question. I
Oh,
appreciate
next
that.
question. Okay, okay. All right.
I love that. So
Mm.
let me pause here and absolutely say that this is intended to be 1000% a conversation, right? And
Yeah,
so even in that part, we are not blaming parents. We are solution finders, right? Like we're seeking
absolutely.
solutions to make sure.
Collaboration.
Yeah,
Collaborate.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So that we can do this thing as a team. Everybody wants their child
To
to
win.
do well, but at the same time, we as parents have to understand that our teachers are moms and wives, and they have their own children, right? And
Mhm.
so they have their own things that may also be transpiring. So I'm seeing some comments here before we kind of go into the next portion, and everybody's saying hi. And I see something
Hi.
here that says, "Hi, mommy, Tristan," from Tristan.
Oh,
So
see.
Tristan's watching.
Hi. Hi, baby. Hi, Tristan. Hi, Cameron.
That is so awesome. So let's kind of talk about that. So you and I talked when a few weeks back when I initially asked, we were talking about trauma, right? And how
Hmm.
that really how it plays a part in the education system, how it plays a part into who we are.
Hmm.
And one of the books that I was telling you about, I just be telling everybody about this book. It's a
Hmm.
very long read. So before I tell y'all, it's a very long read. So you're going to have to like take some time and sit down and get through it. But it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it just really, really talks about how the trauma that we brush under the rug and put the smiling face on and say, this happened to us, but I'm okay. How it actually shows up in who we are today and how it's damaging to our body if we don't actually take the necessary steps to deal with it. So, with that being said, I kind of want to talk about that. And you kind of touched on it already that some children may in the classroom may be experiencing things at home and they bring that into the classroom. Some maybe don't have that level of support at home. And so they're doing what they know to do because that's just
Absolutely.
that's just what they do. So I would ask you, first question is, have you experienced trauma or severe trauma in your life? And how has that trauma, and you don't have to go into detail unless you're okay with it, but how has that, if you have, how has that influenced your perspective on educating and teaching and being able to connect with those students?
So, yes, I have experienced trauma and severe trauma within the past 10 years. And I remember, um, I'm trying to see how I want to say this. Coming back to school after facing some severe trauma and coincidentally being introduced to trauma informed practices. So I'm sure some people on here are friends and they know my story, but for some that don't, and it does get emotional.
And this
I
is a safe
was,
space all
yeah,
the way through.
about how many years ago? So about 10, well, no, not 10. So about 8 years ago, um, routine. I was getting my children and I was going to the mall and I was actually shot by a neighbor. Severe trauma. Um, in the hospital for probably a day. And in the beginning, you have to allow yourself to heal. So from that, um, not knowing that life would be different or there may be triggers or things like that happen, but after the incident happened and when I got home, just having a support system and people who you can talk to and people checking in on you and being able to have those conversations and seeking out help if there's something wrong. All of that played a part in me being able to heal from that. And not only me, but making sure that because my two oldest children actually witnessed it, just you have to make sure that's okay, that they're okay and that they can survive and it can play a part in your mental health. And so that's why a lot of times when we talk about children and mental health, excuse me, it can stem from trauma. So trauma can be something that a one-time incident. It can be a divorce or it can be a car accident. But that can, it can cause triggers in you, and then sometimes it's more prolonged where it happens for longer periods of time, where every day a kid goes home and they're getting abused, or even adults, because it happens. Domestic violence in the home, all of those are traumatic things. And once they happen, you have to seek the help, whatever that looks like to you, in order to begin to heal from that. What was I want to How has it influenced? Okay, so when, like I said, when I returned to work from that, because you still have to go back to work, I still had to use my days, because education is something else and we have to be there for the kids. So I have to go back to work, and we had a professional development about trauma informed practices. Now, I thought about education and going into educational leadership, but this is where it hit me like doctorate, dissertation, more research, and resiliency. So it was like, how was I able to, because that is severe trauma. How was I able to heal from that and get back to my daily normal routine where it's not affecting me, and I could be there. Like, my number one thing was my kids. I have to be mentally, so all the work I put in, it was a reason behind that. But as an adult, my mental health may be a little bit stronger than that of a kid. So how was I able to be so resilient and bounce back from that and still be able to lead a healthy life? Um, and I think it may be because as kids, their minds aren't as mature and they can't really bounce back, and it's some adults too, but that's where the puzzling piece was from me for me. So that's why I wanted to do the research, and I interviewed different teachers about trauma with kids, and some of them talked to me about trauma that they experienced as a kid. And you mentioned earlier something about, how it gets swept under the rug. You really don't talk about it. It's like it just happened, oh well, move on. And it shows up in different ways as an adult. So just how how in kids does this look? So that's another reason I became more of an effective teacher, because I was able to start recognizing, okay, this could be, not to say it that this is what it is, but it could be. So you have to handle children in a different way, because you don't always know the problems that they face at home. Some, if they tell you, but you learn to recognize the warning signs and the signals of a child that may be in distress, or how, so then you begin to think, well, how do I react to this? If I react this way, then it gets worse. Like, so, or if I react this way, maybe I can calm them down to seek the help that they need, or assist in building those relationships. So that's a key component of how I even became more passionate about teaching, because I learned, like, this is my demographic. These are the students that I work with. um, a lot of them do come from a traumatic background. So just doing more research and just being more compassionate and trying different things that I researched and learned about to try to help in a positive way, which led to be going beyond the classroom. Like I said, doing things. I've always coached track. I coach volleyball, but I try to reach them in other, ways after school. So I don't know if I
You
answered.
did. You did. We're reading it. You did. You did. So let me say this to our audience. So first, Trish, thank you so much for sharing parts of your story, right? And I know there's so much more, right? Like that
Hmm.
makes you who you are. That is such a severe
Yeah.
trauma event, right? Like that's not a not to compare levels of trauma, but
Right.
that's not easy to come back from. And
Right.
so to the audience, like if you're hearing what she's saying, not only is she having this situation that happened to her, and she's still having to show up
Mm-hmm.
for the students, for the classroom, for those that she knows she has a responsibility and a commitment that she's made to have a positive impact on. By no means is that light. So I want to pause and just absolutely say thank you, thank you, thank you. 1000%. You are absolutely so you about to make me cry now.
Girl, you knew. I told you that's a sensitive issue, but I try to be an open book, because it could help somebody, or just be informative about why I am the way I am now. Like there are
Absolutely.
events that shape us, and that's one that helped shape me and change my mind and my teaching perspective with the kids I deal with. So,
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to hit on is like we're from East St. Louis, right? And
mhm,
to be quite honest, and even just as women, as black women, there are some things that are ingrained in us
mhm,
that we just know how to keep going.
just keep going.
And I don't think it was necessarily taught to us, but it was the environment that we were in. So
Mhm,
that's what we know. So first and foremost, from a very basic standpoint, we know that we got to keep going. We got to get it, and we gonna get it right.
absolutely.
Um, but it wasn't until because I've experienced my own traumatic event as
Mhm,
well, being
mhm,
in a domestic violence relationship. I can honestly say that it wasn't until later in life where I could give things a name, that I
mhm,
could acknowledge trauma and the things that I've experienced, and that I could start actually working through some of that and recognizing, like,
mhm, mhm.
oh, this is why you are like X, Y, and Z. Like, this is
Absolutely.
why you hold on to that. This is why you act this way. This is why you say those things. This is why you're guarded in
Yeah,
certain areas. But it's because I mean it goes all the way back, right?
absolutely.
To childhood. So when you're thinking of like even us as adults being able to identify that now, we got to consider that parents, we have to consider that as we raise our children. Like cuz some
Absolutely.
things we subconsciously give and do even though we may not think we're teaching them because that's innate in us and that's who we are,
Mhm.
that's what we teaching them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to ask, kind of shift gears a little bit. Again, thank you so much for sharing that piece. We're getting close to wrapping up here. I want to ask, with all of that, all the things that you carry as a teacher and as a mom and a wife, and you're in school getting this doctorate degree that we about to talk about here in a second. What are some of the things that you do to prioritize your self care and your well being? Just to make sure that you're okay.
That is so far and few in between that I actually think about myself to know that it's time to step back. But I will verbally just okay. I need a minute. I need a minute. Um, so just doing some of the things that I like. Even I told my students on the way to work, I have to play like that 90s dance music that makes you dance and gets you in the mood because this is what I know that I'm probably about to deal with.
Yeah.
But on the way home, it has to be calming, soothing music that gets me, that helps me calm down and get ready to get home. But my husband is good at knowing when, okay, I need a break.
Yeah.
So he may take the kids somewhere or rope off this part of the house and say y'all can't go up there. Your mom is trying to take a nap or have a bath ready and a candle where I could just go lay down, and just relax for a little while. Um, Sometimes if I reckon I'm like, oh, I got a little time. Let me go get a manicure. So just finding that I might have an hour, let me go do something for myself. So every year for our birthday, me and one of my friends, we go get a massage every year. And just trying to. I probably need to do more, but just when I know I absolutely need it, I have to just take a pause and just do it. And then sometimes if I cannot do, I just cannot do. I have to say no. So
Yeah.
yeah, knowing when to say no and knowing when you're at your limit and you need a break, and then actually taking that break. Listen to your body because stress is something else. And if you need a moment, take a moment. Take a moment. So um it's far and few in between. I need to do more, but I do get little spurts here and there. I do need more self care in my routine. But
Yeah.
I do another thing. I get up in the morning at 5 because I go to bed early, and normally I go to bed before everybody. So it's still live in the house and the kids are still. So when I wake up in the morning at 5, I get an hour to myself before everybody else wakes up. And that helps. So I can go do my hair. I can go do my makeup. I can listen to some music. I can just take that hour to just embrace quiet and get ready for my day. That actually helps me because I do not perform well in chaos. So I have to know when to just take that time and do something for me.
That's so good. You know
Mhm.
yourself very good. So no pressure, right? Like you fit in the self-care where you can fit it in,
I
right?
fit
Like
it
I
where I
know you have
can.
a lot going on,
Hmm.
so it's hard. I'm going to send you a link though to one of the things that I started practicing. Now listen, I'm not quite there as it
Hmm.
relates to like yoga.
Hmm.
Because I just my mind won't quiet long
Right.
enough, right? I can do it
Hmm.
for a little bit, but I do breath work and it has done wonders for my mind and like just in that calming space, like
Okay.
and being able to the anxiety that I
Hmm.
have at times or from a long day, I will sit in the car, I will send my son in the house and I will give
Hmm.
me 5 minutes of
Hmm.
breath work in just to kind of calm from the day. And it has done wonders for me. So I'm gonna send you that link when we get off here too.
Please do. Please do.
Absolutely. Absolutely will. So now let's kind of talk about your doctorate degree as we kind of begin to wrap this up here.
Hmm.
So you're in this space because of your own experiences and clearly because you're called
Hmm.
you're called to do it. Talk a little bit about what you want to do with that degree once you get it.
So I would like to go into administration um, to further learn how I can assist kids. So at the high school level, you have grade level principals. And so ninth grade, kids are coming in, they're getting acclimated to high school. What are the resources? What are the things that they need to have a successful ninth grade year? To prepare them for again beyond the classroom when they actually enter the work environment. So you get a little bit more into their business, um, and saying, well, this is where you are, and so I want to make an impact from that standpoint. Um, um, Seniors, they're getting ready to go to school, so the college and career readiness, and actually taking the test and examining transcripts to let you know where you are and what you need. And we call it college and career ready because everybody's not college bound all the time. So just helping students see where they are and what's their best fit once they leave high school, because a lot of kids don't have that direction. So just my goal is to prepare them for life beyond school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All the way. I'm glad you said that. Because I talk about this all the time too. Like, and I know we say it, everybody doesn't want to go to college. College isn't for everybody. True.
Hmm.
I
Right.
absolutely agree with that,
Right.
1000%. But then we say that and then we still be trying to force college on people
Yeah.
when really there's another route. And I honestly think that these next generations, I think they're going to be as some of as this one is right now, they're going to be more on the entrepreneur side than
Mm-hmm.
go to
Mm-hmm.
college and get a degree. That's just my personal opinion, but I could be wrong. What do I know, right?
Well, you'll have a certain amount that will actually take that route.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what advice would you give to aspiring educators that are considering or that maybe they're in year one of being a
Again,
teacher?
get a mentor. Mentors help a lot, because they're again, it's more than just writing on a smart board or saying giving an assignment and expecting students to do it. um, like having conversations with people in the field to get a feel for what you'll be getting into, to actually see if you're even, cut out for it. Because I think it's, what is it, 3 years or 5 years, most teachers will leave the profession in about 5 years. So just actually knowing what you're getting into. And again, having somebody to guide you and someone you can ask questions when you don't quite understand something, and someone you can share your experiences with, that can offer you advice about what things you can fix or how you can use certain things to your advantages, just help you find your strengths and areas you can improve in. So we always have room for improvement. Just have someone or a mentor, that can help you, and recognize whether you may be one of those that have that trauma, or some other issues that you have to resolve, and you want to know what to bring to school and what to leave at home or leave in the car until you get back in. So just actually doing the research about the teaching profession, because it is not what we think it is. And a lot of times as teachers, when we get into it, it's a shock, and it's like, wait, I got to do all of this. It's too much. So just knowing what you're getting into, to make sure that's something you can sustain once you're in it, because the kids do need us. Teachers are in high demand. I know we are, the lack of pay and all of these things, but a lot of teachers will tell you we're not in it. They're not in it for the pay, because it doesn't. And it's a lot of responsibility that comes um, with the job, even though you don't make the coins. So,
Yep. Yes, 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 yes. So to sum that up,
yes.
parents, get a teacher some grace. Bring us some cookies and some snacks and
Teacher
acknowledge
Appreciation Week,
on
send me an
Teacher
apple,
Appreciation
little
Week.
gift
Yeah.
card.
Like let's give our educators some grace. Latricia, I am so happy you joined me. This was absolutely amazing, amazing, amazing for me. Again, I just want to speak life into you. I know that you are going to continue to do great things. And I truly believe that although your immediate goal is to kind of get into administration,
Mhm.
based on some of the things that we talked about, I see you being so much bigger.
Absolutely.
Consulting. Look, I'm over here just calling things out for
Giving,
you, doing
giving
some
the.
consulting. Because I really do believe you have not only a unique story, but you're a
Mhm.
maverick, right? Like, and you
Mhm.
have some very innovative ways and ideas of how you can connect with the children that need it most, those at-risk children in our communities that look like us, that grew up like us, that you really want to target. And I know that's where your heart is. So I'm so grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule to have this sit down with me today and with the rest of social media here that's watching.
Ah.
You are amazing. You are awesome. You are going to defend that dissertation, get that doctorate degree.
Amen. Amen.
Yes,
I'm
and I
claiming all
know
of
that
that.
you're going to do amazing things. So my last question for you is, you want to move to Texas and teach?
No.
I know
Everybody's
your family
moving to
probably all in this
Texas.
chat. Like,
Everybody's. You say what?
I say, I know your family all in this chat. Like,
I want to relocate once I retire to somewhere with some sand, but I don't know if Texas is for me, especially after you talk about the commute and how far you got to live
yeah.
away from your. Yeah, my job is 10 minutes away. I'd be late all the time if I had to commute. home
Good.
to it. And then with that, um, that takes time away from your kids too.
Your
When they're
kid.
at school here and you're there, that's an extra hour or two out of your day after the school and after the job that you still don't have with them. So again, teachers are needed and childcare is essential when you, and then you want people that you trust and that are willing to learn to, to take care of your kids. So keep all of that in mind. And yeah, I don't, no, not Texas, not
I tried. I really tried. You have some good comments in the chat here, just saying, your hubs is over here cheering you on, honey. He over here cheering you
now.
on.
Mhm.
We did have one question. I don't want to ignore it. We did have one question. Are educators required to take some type of psychological training to handle the hurt kids bring to school? And are
No.
educators offered free counseling of their
Yes.
own to help them have a safe space and process and grow from the strains of being an educator? Great questions, Candace.
Yes. So educators do have that counseling option that's free, that's available through, well, I know my district does. They have resources available for teachers. The psychological piece, no. No,
Wow.
it's not there. And that's one of the reasons, people leave because they can't really handle that component, especially if you're not from that type of environment, and then you want to go and teach in that type of demographic. You have to have some background, um, and know that how to assist these kids, and get that proper training. But that may be a piece that's missing. When I say teachers need professional development, that could be a piece that could be added, um, because that it's very important. Like I said, we take it home with us psychologically. Uh, it's a lot of things could come into play. I've had students that have been killed, while, yeah, so they'll graduate and then another year or two, then I'll hear that they got killed or something like that. So, and it could be a favorite student, and that does have an effect on teachers too. So life is so much more than just education, and you hate to hear that, about the kids in your community. So that is a piece that is missing, that's lacking, that we probably could benefit from, in this profession.
And Candace also said, well, you should implement that when you get into administration. So
I have to do what the higher ups say, but that is certainly a conversation worth having to see if we can get some supports like that in place. That absolutely probably would help. So
awesome. Well, once again, Latricia, thank you. Thank you. Give her a round of applause, y'all. Woo! I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for everybody who joined and engaged with us tonight. We certainly appreciate it, and we hope that you took something valuable away from this, and go appreciate your teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week this year, okay?
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
Have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Latricia, stay on for a second.